There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you? Welcome to Max Mike Movies, the podcast that brings you up-to-date reviews on movies that generally aren't. But have we got a big show for you this week? I don't know about you, but in these uncertain times, and what times have been certain, I ask you, we all tend to turn to the same things for a little mental relief. Giant monsters! Duh. It's true. Nothing makes me feel better after a day of toiling in the fields than to watch some sweaty guy in a rubber suit stomping down toy trains and model houses. We're sure you feel the same way. So sure that we're doing a whole series called Oh No, a Giant Monster! Oh! Where we look at films that, have giant monsters in them. On my left, a host that knows a thing or two about stomping on toys. It's Max. HO scale is for pansies. Levine, give us a roar, Max.
Moo! My favorite Japanese monster movie, Cowzilla.
Yeah, sure, okay. And me, Moo. I'm that... Stop it. And me, I'm that other host, Mike.
Moo.
You got glue all over the nacelles. Loose. Trust me, it makes sense if you squint real hard. First movie in this new series is that J.J. Abrams, Steven Spielberg giant, Super 8. But before we get to that, we'd like to get to the... Poll question. Last week's question was, what movie can people simply not believe that you haven't seen? We got two answers. Yeah, might be the old polled question has run its course. Still, maybe we'll see, but we're dang glad for the two answers we did get. And the first one came from Vince, penguin hunting ace from all the way up in Canada. Tetsuo! Canada! Wait, I'm Canada, you're Tetsuo.
Oh, right, sorry.
Damn, anyway, some country up north. He wrote, quote, Ilsa, harem keeper of the oil sheiks.
Wait a minute.
Because it's the sort of thing I'm expected to have seen because I have seen the rest of the series. Made in Canada.
Oh.
But people are more amazed at the war or Western movies I haven't seen. I just don't like those genres overall. There are plenty of films I wish I hadn't seen, but have. Yeah, I know that pain. I worked in video stores for many years and saw pretty much everything, end quote. Ilsa, will she ever leave our hearts? How
about our memories? That would be nice.
Yeah, it would. I am stunned. No, I am horrified that you have seen any of the films in that series.
I'm horrified that it's a series.
I didn't even know after I'd seen it. Vince told me. I really hoped I was the only one, but thanks, Vince. You're a brave soul, and don't groan too much. You haven't seen it. Lucky you.
Yes.
The second one comes from our hotline. And man, is it hot in here. Or what?
Oh.
Doris Hempelmeyer offered up this.
Hello, Max Mike Movies. This is Doris Hempelmeyer with an answer to your poll question this week, which is, what are people surprised to find out that I have not seen? Well, I was, younger in the 80s. And there were a bunch of movies that everybody saw, I swear, but, certain types or whatever. And I never saw them. Things like Flashdance, 16 Candles, Goonies, Field of Dreams, Gremlins. I never saw any of those. Never, especially not Flashdance. I got a lot of people going, you never saw Flashdance? I was too busy. Anyway, I hope you have a very nice week, and I look forward to hearing you next Monday. Bye.
Well, thank you, Doris. Turns out I haven't seen a few of those as well, such as Flashdance, Field of Dreams, or 16 Candles. But
seen all of them.
Not me. But as always, thanks for listening. What about you, Max? I know this one's tough in our case, as we've now done 3 series about films we can't believe the other hasn't seen. But you got any left?
Yep. There's a couple. I've never seen Platoon, which always surprises people.
Wow,
because I've seen a bunch of other war movies.
Huh.
Wow.
Why not that one? Just
and
out
I've
of
never
curiosity.
seen. I don't know. It's just one of those. It sounded hard to watch.
Yes.
And I just never got myself to do it. I watched a bunch of the other. I mean, during that era, we had a whole bunch of Vietnam War movies come out. Born on the 4th of July, Full Metal Jacket.
I take it back. I haven't seen Platoon. I saw Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because there's nothing more fun at a theater than Stanley Kubrick.
I mean, that's right. Nothing like having Armry, however you pronounce his last name, scream at you for 2 hours.
Well, he did do a comedy once.
Yeah.
The Day the Clown Cried.
He was in Toy Story.
Huh? No. I meant Kubrick. Kubrick.
Oh. So Kubrick did Toy Story too. He's uncredited.
No, he didn't. He, I think, was dead by then. No, he wasn't. But close.
Then you can't prove me wrong. I run rings around you logically.
Let's see. I'm looking up IMDb right now. It literally says under Toy Story, Stanley Kubrick had nothing to do with this film. Shut up, Max. Wow. That's pretty specific, but...
That's what they want you to think. Anyway, yes, it was his reward for faking the moon landing. No, the other I would think of is Dr. Zhivago. I've always meant to see that. I just have never gotten around to it. It just sounds like a job. It's very long and
it's over 3 hours
and slow.
I think it has an intermission, maybe 2.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I'd say those are my 2. What about you? What are the ones people can't believe you haven't seen? Obviously, any of the others in Ilsa, the She-Wolf series, I can't believe you haven't seen those.
I mean, not that I would seek them out, but it's literally because I didn't know there were any. Oh, hey, folks, just so you know, apparently it's a nice day out, and somebody here at the home studios has decided that it's lawn mowing day. So if you hear that low-flying plane in the background, just try to ignore it as best you can. I know I will.
Or it could be the turtle Gamera attacking the city.
Oh, no, but he won't step on us because he's a best friend of children.
Oh.
Anyway, so those are your 2 I can't believe. People can't believe that I can't have seen it films.
Yeah, so what actually are ones people can't believe you haven't seen?
There's a couple of biggies, I suppose, that came to mind, like Goodfellas and Chinatown. I haven't seen either of those. Okay. I'm not a big fan of gangster films. Sehen Sie einen Gangsterfilm? Sorry, that's a deeper. And I don't like the violence that tends to be in them. So, but one of our longtime listeners, Adam Mark, also known as Bill O'Lading, oops, I've outed him, cannot believe, and he repeatedly cannot believe that I have not seen Pretty Woman. But I have not seen Pretty Woman. So,
well, we got one for the next I can't believe you haven't seen list.
That's going to be a toughie. That's probably about another 100 episodes away, because that's about how often we do them. But yeah. Up, the plane's coming in. It's a crop duster.
Oh, no.
I think it's heading north by northwest.
Yeah, there's a plane dusting crops where there ain't no crops.
Uh-oh, it ran right into Mount Rushmore. Oh, well, right up Roosevelt's nose.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, but anyway.
A mountain goat up here.
Shaped like Alfred Hitchcock. That's weird. All right. Anyway, we might not have got a lot of answers this week, but we're not hanging the old poll question out to dry just yet. We'd like to know what movie really represents your childhood. Who took you growing up and made a movie about it? Let us know. We'd love to have you enhance our show. But for now, we need to steer this towards... the facts. Super 8 had a budget, but how big a budget we're not going to tell you. Well, okay.
Is it a secret?
Yes. It was actually $50 million, for which for these two isn't so bad.
That's,
again,
they kept
Abrams, Zucker, and Zucker. I mean, no, Abrams and Spielberg. Although, Abrams, Zucker, and Zucker. That might be fun.
I think that's a law firm. But yes, and I would like to point. They saved money because there are almost no lens flares.
There are some, though.
There are some, but J.J. Abrams was really holding back.
Here comes that plane again.
Loves him some lens flares.
Yes, he does. But how much did it make, I hear you ask?
How much did it make?
Oh, yes.
Damn it.
One of Max's.
Can I get another read?
No. Only Richard's. It seems to have pulled in a nice, cool $260 million Alsatian dollars. That's money that's based on dogs. That sounds pretty good.
How come we didn't get to see, Super 9 and Super 10?
You do realize what Super 8 is referring to, yes?
Sure, it's Tobor, the 8th man.
Oh, dear, he doesn't. This is going to be a long show. Anyway.
The 8-ball in billiards?
I'm going to go with Shut Up. Oh, those kids. The actor who played Charles, Riley Griffiths, decided to play a little gag on director Abrams. At one point, he came up to the director in tears, saying he'd lost his script at the local mall. Someone found it and posted it online.
Oh, mean.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't fired, but there you go.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe this. Hold on to your hats, seats, or what have you. Steven Spielberg was on set quite a bit during filming.
Gasp!
I know you're shocked by that. Apparently both he and Abrams have said...
spinning.
Commander! That's such a deeper... Even I've never heard it. Apparently both he and Abrams have said that this was the most fun they've had while making a film thus far.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of Abrams, what was his first team-up with Spielberg? It was when he and his best friend were hired by Spielberg to clean up some of the director's own Super 8 home movies. Though with Spielberg, it was almost certainly regular 8. Just saying. So, yeah. Speaking of Super 8 footage, we never see any. Super 8 is a very small film format, and trying to blow it up to look anywhere near reasonable on a big screen would have been... Here's that plan again. It would have been impossible. So that little zombie film at the end, yeah, that was shot in 16.
My childhood ruined.
Sure. You never made a film. Did you ever make a film when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah. Oh, tons.
Really?
I was very into stop action animation. Yeah.
Stop motion animation.
Stop whatever. Stop
really?
correcting me.
I've known Max Pro for 40 years. I've never known this.
Yeah, they were, I think the longest one was 8 seconds or 12 seconds.
12 seconds. Okay. So not feature length exactly.
No, not really.
What were you animating?
Oh, like toys, action figures, plastic animals.
Oh, so at the beginning when I said that you knew a lot about stomping on toys, apparently I was right and didn't even know it. Anyway.
Yep.
Cool. One of the visual metaphors one might question is the over-the-topness of the train crash. Abrams said he filmed it that way because he wanted it to represent how the kids viewed and remembered it. Yeah, we'll get back to that one.
Okay.
And don't worry, no real trains were hurt in the making of this film. They were CG train cars. Big surprise there.
Trains are blameless, holy creatures.
Another deeper. Oh, this is going to be a long show. Speaking of CG, there never was a water tower of any kind. It was entirely CG.
Whoa.
I know, mind blown. Super 8 is J.J. Abrams' only feature film that is not a sequel, a retelling of another movie, or some part of a franchise. Oddly, we haven't seen Abrams direct a movie since 2019's The Rise of Skywalker.
Funny.
Yeah, it is weird. Joe Lamb's dad's full name is Jackson Lamb. Apparently he grows up to be British and turns into Gary Oldman. While it's not legal for a 12-year-old, in this case Elle Fanning, to drive a car, it is legal for her to be at the wheel and have someone behind her doing the actual driving because sure it is. That's what they actually did.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
So the driver, the steering wheel for that car that she was driving was behind her in the back seat.
Oh, in the back seat. Oh,
so
I see. All right.
It's okay for that person to drive while she's at the wheel. Because
that sounds safe.
Apparently they actually checked the law. Yes, you can do that. That probably comes up a lot in Hollywood. How do you get a giant monster to breathe over the face of your star on cue? Why, you grab a piece of cardboard and wave it.
What?
Special effects. Yeah, so when Joe Lamb's held by the monster at the end and it's breathing on him and blowing his hair, it is literally J.J. Abrams waving cardboard. So.
Wow.
But likely so much more, but we haven't got time for that. What we have to get to is the plot, unless, Max, do you have any little tidbits you'd like to scatter about like crumbs?
Well, one thing I do kind of like, did you notice when we're watching the kids' movie at the end, the name of the chemical company that is supposedly creating the zombies is the Romero Chemical Company. Thank you, George Romero. Get it?
Well, one of the things they actually left out of trivia was they tried to get Romero in as a cameo.
Oh.
Because they were shooting in Pittsburgh, and he's from Pittsburgh. But he wasn't home.
Oh.
Like, he literally was somewhere else.
Damn.
So they couldn't get him. So, well,
that's all.
Let us get to the plot, then.
Tell us a story. Tell us a story.
I will. Sit down and be good, or you won't get any pudding. All right, then. It's 1979, and there's a group of kids who live in Stranger Things, Ohio. Okay, to be fair, this came first.
Yeah.
There's these kids, and their leader, Charles, is a wannabe movie director. He's roped all his buds into making his zombie movie in hopes of winning a prize at the International Super 8 Film Festival. In Ohio. It's just been the guys up till now, but Charles has added a female character and asked the enigmatic Alice to join. This excites Joe, a young lad who lost his mother a mere 4 months before in a Steeltown Saturday night accident.
Wait a minute.
What he doesn't know is that Alice's father is kinda responsible. What he does know is, oh gee, Alice makes me feel funny. The kids go out to a local train station at night to film a scene when suddenly a freight train that's passing by gets thrown off the track by some nut in a pickup truck. It's a huge mess. Odd thing, the field is strewn about with these weird little metal cubes, and somehow the guy in the truck is still alive. And it's their science teacher. He warns the kids to run as there are people coming and they will kill the boys and all their families, so just run!
A family movie.
They promise never to talk about what they see, but they're 12-year-old boys. We know how long that lasts. Turns out Charles accidentally shot footage of the crash, and now the Air Force, who owned what was on the train, is taking over the town and asking questions. Tensions rise as the kids try to work out just what the heck is going on. The power keeps going out, dogs run away, huge things go missing, and is that a giant monster from outer space? Things take a wacky turn in this coming-of-age disaster film, and you won't want to miss it. Or will you? The film. So, Max, you did not see this, am I correct?
No, I did.
Before?
I
you did? When did you see it?
I saw it in the theater.
Oh.
I saw it when it came out.
Now, so J.J. Abrams wouldn't have been anybody by this point, is that correct?
Never heard of him. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what that bad robot thing was.
Yeah.
This was pre-Lost. Yep.
Lost was his first big thing. Did he do any work?
It's the first big thing
on Battlestar Galactica, did he? No, he did not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I couldn't swear to it, but yeah, Lost for me was the first thing I'd ever heard of from this guy.
Yeah. So what drew you to it?
I think he did like some rock videos or something.
Oh, who hasn't? I think I did too. Maybe you did some stop motion in some of them. Were you drawn because it was Spielberg's name attached to it?
Yeah, pretty much. Also, I liked the idea. It's like, oh, okay, cool. A bunch of kids making a movie. It's going to be monsters, and it's got Spielberg. I'm sure the monster will be adorable and eat Reese's Pieces. And
Well, we'll come back to that monster. I too saw it in the theater. This was 97?
You did, okay.
I'm trying to see.
Well, it was 2011.
Oh, 2011, 97. What am I thinking? So
97.
We didn't see it together. Yeah, I don't know.
Elle Fanning would have been an embryo at that point.
Well, she's not exactly old.
No.
So, but speaking of Elle Fanning, why don't we get to the actors, which are in an odd order, but that's fine. We'll start with Elle Fanning. I'm going to say that this is the first appearance of Elle Fanning I know of.
No, she'd done other stuff when she was really little. She's been acting since she was 3 years old, literally.
Yeah, but have you seen her in anything before this?
Oh, boy. I think I had seen her and not known that I saw her.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's plays small child 4. She was in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, apparently.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. I don't remember that it was her at any point.
Yeah. That was an odd film.
This, I don't know. I keep thinking I saw her in something else. Mostly thinking, oh, that's Dakota's little sister. Okay.
Sister. She has a sister.
Yep.
And the Fanning sister.
I think this is her first big thing, yeah.
Yeah. I thought she was terrific. Quite honestly.
I think she's great.
She is way too good for Charles's film. She is way too good.
Oh, God. And they make that clear. I mean, we see, and it's not just because Elle Fanning is a good enough actor to portray a bad actor, the way the others do, but they choose to show that she actually has talent.
Yeah.
Maybe that's her ticket out. I don't know. But she's way too good for Charles's film. And unfortunately, Charles can't quite recognize that she makes everyone else look worse by her ability.
Yeah. No, I think she does great. And she does seem very much like that girl next door that you secretly wonder about and like, but can't ever bring yourself to tell her because, dear gods, I think I might puke on my shoes again. So.
Yeah, exactly. And yet she's also the emotionally damaged, mom left, dad's a mess.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think she does great.
She's terrific.
AJ Michalka as Jen Kasnick. I think does she have some lines?
Charles's older sister, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right, because she plays the hot one, as it were.
Yeah.
And
she's fine.
She's fine. Yeah, she's fine. Kyle Chandler, who's been in, I'm going to probably guess 200-300 movies.
A lot, yeah.
He's a very everyman kind of actor in general.
Yeah, he is. He's good at that. He looks like, he's good looking, but not in a leading man kind of way, not in a threat. He's very non-threatening, quite honestly.
He's very dad. Let's face it, he's very
dad.
But he does a really good job. There's a couple of scenes in this film that really give him a chance to stretch what is not a huge role. Let's face it. He's playing the dad. He's mostly the disciplinarian. But we can see the effects of toxic male masculinity on him, because not only does he not know how to deal with the loss of his wife, he literally has no idea how to approach or deal with his son, who really needs him.
Yeah, that's very painful.
And there's also a really nice scene at the end where he finally gets to a point where he is willing to admit that it was an accident. It wasn't Alice's dad's fault, whose name I don't actually even know. And they have to actually work together.
Dad.
Alice's dad. They have to work together to save the kids. So I think he does a remarkable job in this.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fine.
Joel Courtney is next as Joe. What do you think of Joe?
I thought he was really good. I never heard of this kid. Well, this was his first movie.
It was. This is a case where his brother was an actor, and he was visiting his brother, and his brother said, hey, you should go and try out for this thing. And I think he was trying out for a commercial, and somebody said, there's this big call for kid actors from J.J. Abrams. You should go try for that. And so he's like, okay, maybe I'll do an acting thing. That might be fun. I think especially visually, he's kind of perfect.
Yeah, he really works. He's that kid who has no idea that he's about to become really good looking.
Yeah.
Because you can see it about him. He's a nice looking kid. He's very polite. He's the most polite of all of his rather psychotic friends.
Yeah. He also just has a face that has a perfect mix of innocence and wonder, I think.
Mm-hmm. But you can see the sadness in the back of his eyes because of the loss of his mother and the fact that his father, he has no idea. They don't know how to deal with each other at this point.
And let's face it, neither you or I are particularly often fond of kid actors, because a lot of times they are, how to put this, kid actors, and they're just in some way annoying or obnoxious, or often they're at odds with the adult characters in ways that's supposed to make the adults look stupid or bumbling, and you just end up hating them. And I want to say casting in general for this film for the kids was really spot on.
Yeah, and I like the fact that these kids look like kids.
Yeah.
I don't think they look like middle school kids. Maybe they're supposed to be high school.
I think they're 11, 12. Sure. I think they're 11, 12.
Oh, I thought they were a little older than that, because, they're starting to have feelings about girls.
Well, that's why they're in that tweener, maybe 13, but I'm not even sure. To me, the one that looks visually the most perfect for 1979 is Ryan Lee, who plays Carrie. The long, stringy blonde hair and the braces. He is perfect. I knew so many kids who looked just like him in the 70s.
He nailed it. I have 6 tons of fireworks in my backpack. Let me blow something up.
And we all knew a kid like that, right? We all knew the kid who liked fireworks.
Yeah. There was always that one kid who not only had fireworks, but would sell them to you.
I didn't have anybody who sell them to me, but I had one that we were doing a sleepover at camp, and he's like, I put enough of these to make a quarter stick of dynamite, and I'm going to go light it off in the outhouse. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Spoiler, it didn't actually light, but yeah. We skipped over Jessica Tuck as Mrs. Kasnick, who I think she talks
there.
Once or twice.
They're the harried... I gotta say, how the hell did any of the Kasnick children live to adulthood? That house is just pure chaos.
And it's just like, why did you keep having them? Because I think they have 6 kids.
At least there's like the two daughters and the twins and another little boy and Charles.
And I didn't look to see if it was true. Oh, it is him. Okay, I was going to say the kid who plays Charles's younger brother. It's like, if that's not the actor's actual younger brother, they did an amazing job of casting, but it is his younger actual brother.
Oh, it is his. Okay.
Yeah. And then we have Joel McKinnon Miller as Mr. Kasnick, who is also fine.
He's fine. He's also a very dad character actor.
Yeah, we mentioned Ryan Lee as Carrie, who actually is, quite honestly, both annoying and kind of really fun because he's always there trying to set things on fire and blow things up. And
he's one of the most believable of them, quite honestly.
Yeah. Zach Mills as Preston. He doesn't have a huge part. He often gets left behind.
No. He's kind of the know-it-all. You know?
Yeah, he's
the
fine.
one who... Yeah, he does a decent job. Riley Griffiths, I think, does a really good job as Charles.
Yeah.
This is the kid who obviously, Alice sees right through it, says he shouldn't always get what he wants. This kid his parents obviously don't know how to say no to him. But he's also just devoted to Joe. I love one of, I think, the most touching moments, and it's just like 2 seconds. It's toward the end. One of them has gotten hurt. Charles is trying to take care of him. Joe's going to go off to try to save Alice. And Charles looks at him and with genuine concern says, "Are you going to be okay without me?" And Joe, he knows what he's asking. And he looks at it, and he takes it seriously, and he looks at him, and he waits and says, "Yeah." It's like, okay. So he really is worried about Joe. He really obviously loves Joe.
But also, let's be fair, he's already showing that he's got, like, some of the perfect skills to be a director.
Oh, absolutely. He is... This is, again, very, very Spielberg. Of course, the main characters are filmmakers. Yeah. And, of course, that's their primary interest. They run back into the fire, practically, to save the camera, save the film.
Well, to be fair, from the train wreck, one of them goes back for it, and the other one's yelling at him, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" So there is a hey, this really isn't that important kind of thing. And to be fair, they had shot one scene, although admittedly, as Charles says, production values.
Yep.
Because,
So I think he does. I think he's great.
He's perfectly believable. I shot a few films when I was a kid. I was never that driven to make films. Even though I did go to film school, I eventually found out that I didn't get to do nearly as much as I wanted. My problem was I was born at the wrong time because now I could do all of it from my phone.
Yeah. So, you got an entire studio in your pocket.
Yep. We have Gabriel Basso as Martin. I think too he plays the lead actor in the kids' zombie film. I think he does a great job.
And obviously he's chosen because he's the tallest.
the most not unlike an adult, I guess is the best way you could put it. He's fine. He doesn't have a big part. We don't really learn that much about him, but he's fine.
No. Yep.
We have Ron Eldard as Lewis, which is Alice's father. I think he's, again, not a big part, but you totally get where he's coming from.
Yeah, you totally get he's terribly damaged. He's consumed by guilt. And, there's a question, how much was it his fault? How much he just, the mom took a shift at the mill or the factory or the foundry or the whatever the hell it was that it was supposed to be his, but he was drunk. So she took it and there was an accident and she got killed.
Yeah.
It's not like he pushed her in front of it, but if he had been there, yeah.
So, small part. He also looks very much the part. He's got those big mutton chop sideburns. The not stringy, but the longish blonde hair. I mean, we know what kind of music he listens to in that car.
Oh, yeah.
And it rhymes with heavy metal. So, small part, but he does really well. After that, there's a bunch of other people. The only two I would probably bring up is Glynn Turman and Noah Emmerich.
Yeah.
Emmerich.
Yeah, Dr. Woodward and Colonel Nell. Oh, you don't think...
I don't know. Is he related to Roland Emmerich? Because if he is, why isn't he shown up in...
Are there?
I don't know, but why isn't he shown up in more disaster films? But no, Emmerich, I don't know him for anything, but he plays a perfectly believable, no-nonsense Air Force colonel that's here to get stuff done, and who cares who gets in the way. And I want to say Glynn Turman, who plays Dr. Woodward, who is mostly in a car wreck and doesn't have a lot. He's fine.
Yeah. Doesn't have a lot of line, doesn't do much, but he's a big plot point.
But
he does a nice job.
That's most
in general, the cast is very good.
Yeah. And apparently there was a lot of inspiration, not only from Spielberg directly because he was there, but specifically because of the family life of the kids and the main character from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And when I read that in trivia, it's like, oh, I can totally see that. The chaos of the kids running around and doing stuff and throwing things and, building stuff out of mashed potatoes and... mashed potatoes! So,
message from outer space, Gladys, right here on our dinner table. Ah!
Yeah, that's a deeper. Although, to be fair, I'm gonna cite this one because if you have not seen a little fan-made film from 1978 called Closet Cases of the Nerd Kind, it's on YouTube. Look it up. It's a lot of fun. And heck, while you're there,
very short. It's hilarious.
Look up Hardware Wars if you haven't seen that too, because that's a lot of fun. Now, besides Stranger Things, which isn't fair because Stranger Things wouldn't come around for quite a few years, but did this film remind you of anything at all?
Oh, sure. There's a lot of vintage Spielberg stuff in here. I mean, there's a certain level of E.T. in there. I mean, except the alien isn't nearly as helpless.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it felt very familiar. It felt like a lot of the old monster movies, except there's a twist, and that is the monster isn't the bad guy.
Well, and the funny thing is that actually harkens back to what is arguably the first original movie giant monster, and that's King Kong. And King Kong was also a sympathetic figure, right? Because it's like, Kong's fine if you leave him alone. If you bring him to New York, gee, there's a good idea. What happens?
Everybody cry when my conch die.
Nobody cry when Max's conch die.
No. Nobody cry when conch die.
Spoiler, again, it's in the theme song. This monster is not what it appears to be. I was thinking it felt very much like Stand By Me meets Close Encounters. Because we really focus on the kids. Stand By Me more so, there's almost no adults. There is the loss of an older brother, which is similar to the loss of the mom and the main character and stuff. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because Stand By Me is also one of the few kids movies I can stand.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie about kids from the kids' perspective. And I think this is too in that way. I think you're right. I think this does kind of match up a little with Stand By Me.
Yeah. Speaking of that, there's that train crash. Now I'd forgotten the severity of the train crash when I watched it for the show. How did you feel about that?
I have written in my notes in all caps, how are they not all dead after that train explosion? Because it's not just that the train derails. The train is apparently full of flammable materials and high explosives which go kaboom! They should have been ripped apart by flying shrapnel or pieces of debris. They were like 10 feet away from it.
Well, I wasn't even so upset about what was on the train. I was wondering what was in the pickup truck. Because literally, Dr. Science Guy is trying to stop the train for reasons that we don't have to actually talk about. But he gets on the tracks, drives at the train, and somehow this is literally like sticking your foot out as soon as Godzilla walks by. And the train trips over the truck and flips.
One of the kids even points that out. He says it doesn't work that way. You can't derail a train with a pickup truck. No, the pickup truck would have been in splinters. I don't know. Maybe he had a couple of lumps of neutronium in the back. I don't know.
Well, not only that,
and especially this is a military train. Yeah. This is an Air Force train. They're designed to be very hard to derail.
Because aliens.
Aliens, yep.
Well, not only that, but once the debris settles and the kids don't get hit by giant flying pieces of steel or catch fire or anything, they make their way back towards the wreck, and what do they find? Most of the pickup truck and their science teacher is still alive.
And he hits it head on. Yeah. It's not like he got clipped on the side. No, he's still alive. He's still clutching his gun.
Yeah.
And he survives long enough to be interrogated by the evil military.
Yeah.
Huh?
Just for another little bit of trivia, those little flies that were buzzing around him, those were actually real. They were attracted to the makeup he was wearing, and they were like, you know what? Let's just leave him in. Because it's gross.
Yeah.
And that whole bit where it's like, I wanted to film it the way the kids felt it, like it would be more hyper real to them. The problem I have with that visual metaphor is that we don't really have that carried throughout the film. I don't think.
No, most of the other stuff isn't that exaggerated.
No. Although
I suppose the bombardment on the town is pretty over the top.
The scene where, oh no, the tanks have gone wild and literally shooting everything, and somehow those kids are not shot.
Yeah.
Which, okay, sure.
And how many, now admittedly, the town is supposed to be abandoned. They've evacuated because of a wildfire that the military intentionally started.
Right.
Apparently, this is before they got more subtle, like, oh, there's been a chemical spill or, biological. It's like, nah, let's just set everything on fire for real.
Well, but that happened the year before in Close Encounters. That was 78 or 77.
No, yeah, 77. That's true. They wouldn't have bought it twice. Yeah. By the way, what told you that it was 1979 right away?
They did in the opening of the film. They say it's 1979.
Yeah. They also... You see a TV in the background starts talking about the meltdown at 3 Mile Island.
Which is interesting because according to trivia, they cut that out because when the film came out, the big meltdown in Japan was happening. They're like, oh, yeah, we probably should mention that. Okay. Yeah, we should probably leave that part. So I didn't know that was in there. But no, it actually says 1979 at the beginning of the film. So
yeah. Of course, the kids are singing the Knacks' My Sharona. Well, which also came out in 79.
Well, why wouldn't you? I'm sure at some point.
Yeah.
Well, no, you and I didn't. We, of course, sung My Bologna.
No. Of course.
Did you find in general the kids believable, and B, believable for the time, for the 70s?
I did. I really did. There's the innocence that we lost somewhere along the way in the post-ironic era.
Yeah. I know where we lost it.
They are absolutely believable.
We lost it in 1980. That's when we lost.
That's the year before. What happened in 1980?
Do you remember who was elected president?
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly it all comes back.
Well,
Mommy. Okay. Because I have memories of the 70s. I will say this. I will give both Spielberg and Abrams credit. They don't overdo the clothing.
No, they don't give you there's no platform shoes. There's no enormous bell bottoms. The haircuts are 70s, but they're not in your face about it.
Yeah.
The music is very 70s. There's a lot of 70s music, but there's a lot of it's the classic stuff.
Yeah.
Don't Bring Me Down and My Sharona and a bunch of others. Yeah.
Well, and luckily there's only a tiny little bit of disco and it's done ironically, so that's okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, I thought I thought the kids are very believable and very much of their time.
Well, I think that the matter-of-factness of the 70s portrayal allows the film to be a little bit more universal that way. It's not... Being in the 70s isn't really that important. And honestly, I'm not even sure why they set it in the 70s, unless it had to do with the depiction of technology and how it would have been a lot harder for I think they wanted to center it around something nostalgic like the Super 8 film itself and stuff like that. Because otherwise you'd just call it iPhone.
I also think that it was much more about, how isolated the town becomes, because the thing has stolen the cables from the telephone, the telegraph, whatever wires are gone, and that's it. They've got, they're losing power, and nobody's got a cell phone, of course. One guy has a ham radio, one guy has a CB.
Yeah. And there's a town meeting about how they expect the police to take care of all of these things.
Yeah, they just, of course you know what's going on, and of course we trust the police, they'll do it.
Well, I guess I don't know who else I would go to. I certainly wouldn't want to be mayor of that town, I'll tell you that much.
I do. It's interesting also, while in some ways this movie can be very violent, there's a lot of destruction of property, and there's a lot of points where it looks like people are being killed, although we find out I don't think they are. They just seem to be...
I think we can safely say the colonel gets killed.
Oh, yeah, the guys who are fighting the alien, the military guys all get killed, but like the people that the thing snatches, like the sheriff and the missing people, they apparently are just hung upside down in its lair for reasons.
Witnesses, I guess, to tell them anything. I think I don't know if he definitely kills a couple of the military guys in the bus that the kids are being taken away in. But I think the monster specifically targets the colonel because he's been around for the whole thing and has been causing the most harm to the alien. So,
Yep.
Speaking of the alien, we have a giant monster. Here's the
Kind of.
thing.
Well, you have a large-ish monster.
It's a giant monster. It picks up and throws cars. That's giant enough.
Yeah.
It's not like it's 10 feet tall. What did you think about the monster, Max?
I like the fact we never really see it. We can't. It's always in the dark. We see parts of it. We see it underground. We see it at a distance. I thought that made it much more believable. Because you don't look at it and go, oh, yeah, there's the zipper, or, oh, I can see the matte lines.
I think it's safe to say there's no guy in a suit in this particular monster.
I'm pretty sure. No, I kind of like that. And, we see we see its face at one point, and it's pretty well done. I like the fact that you really don't get to see it, because as we all learned from Jaws, it's also it's scarier when it's just left to your imagination.
I like the way it's depicted, but I don't like the design of the monster. And the reason is that because we have no idea what it looks like. Even at the end, it's almost amorphous. Like, does it have a set number of limbs? Does it make new limbs as it walks? I don't know. The face we finally get to see, and it's important that we see the face. I did not know this, and I would never have picked up on this, but apparently when they were modeling the face, they used the eyes of the actor who played Joe's mother.
Oh.
I know, right?
Joe's mother, okay.
Yeah, how would we have known that? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Which is why...
that wouldn't even occurred to me.
No.
I didn't think her eyes were 4 feet apart.
I have the same problem with this monster as I do with the Cloverfield monster, which a lot of people have said looks a lot like this monster. And there is a common thread in that they were both designed by the same guy.
I could see there are definite visual similarities.
I would really prefer something more iconic. Because you could say the same thing about the original Xenomorph and Alien. It is so much more effective that we do not see all of it until the very end. But when we do, as creepy and weird and different as it is, its shape is still understandable and easy to parse. And this monster is never easy to parse. I couldn't tell you how many limbs it has total at all. I couldn't tell you how tall it actually is. Does it ever stand? I don't know. And I would just like something a little bit more, especially because at the end, it turns out, spoiler, it's not actually all that bad a thing. I would like something a little bit more relatable.
Yeah, I could see that. I like the fact that it's left more to the imagination.
Well, because it's meant actually to be a being that we've wronged. I don't know. I didn't like the monster's design. I did like there are no name brand products in this film. I don't know if you noticed that. There's Kelvin gasoline.
For the cars, yeah.
Well, Kelvin is the go-to word for J.J. Abrams. So Kelvin Universe,
Kelvin
and Star Trek.
Yep, Kelvin Timeline.
Yeah, I think there was a Kelvin character in Lost. Blah 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 blah.
Okay.
Also, the one I could pick out was Kit's candy bars, not Kit Kat, but Kit's. I kind of appreciate that because sometimes it can be distracting. It also lets us know that there's no product placement, which I hate. But did you even notice that?
I like that. I did not notice that, which is good.
Yeah, all fake.
Yeah.
So a lot of times in these films, there is no effort made to make a metaphor of the giant monster. Godzilla, yes. Originally, Godzilla was meant to be the fear, the destruction of the atomic bomb, etc., etc. But I think other giant Reptilicus, which we may or may not visit, I don't think there's any metaphor there. But do you think that this monster is meant to be the metaphor for anything?
I don't know about it. It's a metaphor. The message, it is a sort of a metaphor of the fear of the unknown. It's a bit of a thing about the knee-jerk militaristic response and how instead of trying to communicate with it or help it, we decided to torture it for reasons. To me, the central message of the movie, and admittedly, I'm not crazy about the fact that Joe actually comes out and says it, is bad things happen, but you can still live. I like that because he's also realizing that he has to come to terms. What happened to his mother was terrible, but it happens, and he's still alive, and he still has to live. And that's also the message the father has to learn.
Yeah.
And I thought actually that was really nice because it wasn't, oh, yes, bad things happen, but everything is still wonderful. Or there's so much beauty. It's like, no, bad things happen, but you can still live. You still have to keep going.
Yeah.
And I thought that was that was touching and very mature and not at all sappy.
I agree. I think they could have, and you might even make an argument for the monster/alien, whatever, being a metaphor for Joe's grief. I don't see the need for it. I could see why somebody might make a point for it, but you don't really need to do that. But even if you choose not to go that direction, it can be supported and still kind of work that way. And especially the part at the end where he lets go of the silver necklace that's somehow magnetic.
Yeah, mom was a cheapskate. She got like some, steel or ferrous metal junk thing.
Well, it might have actually been
silver.
It might have been Dad who was cheap because he gave it to her.
Yeah.
I will say, in addition to what you said, at the end of the film, and only at the end of the film, Mr. Lamb finally hugs his son. And it's like, you know that poor Joe has been waiting for that for 4 months. And
the sheriff even tells him to do it near the beginning. Go home, go fishing, hug your son. And I didn't catch when he put the emphasis on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, God, he never touches the kid. I think maybe he pats him on the shoulder once.
No. Well, and there's that really touching scene where Joe comes home and finds his dad crying in the bathroom. And, of course, that's that toxic male. We can't show that. We can't talk about that.
No.
There is one scene where I think there is a message that is we are kind of hit over the head with, but which is also really funny. So the guy who works at the local film store and is there to develop their film is really wanting to get in touch with Charles's older hot sister, and so he keeps trying to do that. And he at one point offers to sell them weed, and they're just like, no. But they later have to enlist his help in driving them off to town so they can blah, 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 blah. And of course, the young man who is waiting for the kids decides to toke up a little too much, as it turns out.
A doobie.
And so suddenly Joe has to drive because that's a good idea. And they're getting out of the car and this has nearly cost them everything. And one of the, I can't remember which kid is.
One of the kids, Martin said,
drugs are so bad.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Very subtle.
Yeah. Very, very subtle.
That's Martin, who's the stress barfer.
Poor kid.
Poor kid. He throws up when he gets scared. And that's a response. There are people who do that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we get to see him do it, I think, 3 times. So, yeah.
Yeah. I got to say, toward the end, I felt really bad for Carrie. Because he and Alice and Joe are all standing there looking at the destruction. And there's Joe's dad has come for him. And Alice's father has come for her. Where's Carrie's family? They haven't come looking for him.
He blew them up.
I wonder if they're on fire somewhere.
I will say there's one thing that the film promises and could easily have not delivered, but not only do they deliver, they deliver in a really cool way. And that's Charles's film. They could easily have never come back to the actual film. But no, Abrams says, not only are we going to shoot parts of it, we're going to shoot the whole film, and we're just going to run it start to finish during the credits. What did you think of that?
Yep, I thought that was great. I was so glad we got to see it, and it was so believable as a film shot by kids. Carrie gets killed, 3 times in it? It's 3 different zombies, obviously because he loves it.
Yeah.
And my God, when Martin is trying to cure Alice with the needle which he shoves into her skull, apparently to save her.
What's also
the terrible acting, and the fact that when he's drowning his sorrows, he's drinking out of a jam jar.
Well, that's how you know he's really hit rock bottom.
Oh, yeah.
At age 13.
I thought that was great.
I really liked the little film. It felt so much like the way the kids would make a film. There's little editing mistakes in there. Like you can tell there was little pieces that he cut out where somebody burped or something.
Or they're using the same set for 3 different places.
Yeah.
The same room.
I also appreciated the fact that it meant we didn't have to watch the credits that we don't want to watch anyway. But it also, if you missed it somehow, you didn't miss anything for the plot, but it really was a lot of fun. And I thought it was a great way to end the film. Speaking of...
I really like the romance between Joe and Alice, the burgeoning romance. It's so sweet, and it's not overdone, and it develops organically. And there's no kiss. She hugs him at one point. And I just like when he's come to save her. He goes, What are you doing here? I'm doing my best to rescue you. It's not I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue. It's like, I'm doing my best to rescue you. I know this isn't going well.
They are very nice together.
Yeah, and the way she thinks his models are cool, and it's hard for him, but he actually manages to talk to her and tell her about real things. I think that's very nice. I have one sort of technical thing that I had a problem with, and I know it's dumb. At the end, when the super magnet field is pulling all the metal into the water tower, and they're all standing around and going, okay, first of all, you're all sterile. Second of all, your brains are being scrambled by that much EM interference. And then, why aren't Carrie's braces ripping off his teeth?
I am personally very glad that we didn't have to go through that. But
yeah. You can argue. I think they may have made them out of aluminum. I'm not sure.
No, steel, definitely steel.
No, it was steel.
There's some sitcom I remember where their braces get magnetized to something. I don't remember what it is, but it's steel.
Yeah.
As far as the romance goes, one thing I wanted to ask too is, do you think they stay together?
It's hard to tell. Relationships that occur during traumatic or intense events don't often last.
Yeah.
But I think they might, because they have a real connection. And also, if nothing else, Charles is going to be bullying both of them into making more movies.
I think they don't. I think that this is one of those things that they both grow and learn from in different ways, but I foresee them being friends for the rest of their lives. These are the kind of people that shared so much that at some point, even they end up in the big chill. Let's put it that way. These people end up in the big chill.
Okay.
But, yeah. That's
I figure also he's a guy who'll stay in town, and she's going to go off to Hollywood and try to be an actor.
Or something. I don't know. But it's okay. We'll find out if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because we are at that time where we have to decide, listen, this is a big monster movie. How good could it be?
The finish.
So, Max, this is a big monster movie. How good could it be?
Surprisingly good, I think.
Yeah?
I enjoy it. I don't think it's not the, paradigm-shattering thing that E.T. was. It wasn't like the mind-blowing thing of Close Encounters. But it came too late. 2011, we'd seen a lot of science fiction like this. I think it's really just a good, solid movie. I think the performances are terrific. I like the story. I like the fact that it's not just, evil monster, bah.
Yeah.
We've seen that too, but...
Well, I think that's a paradigm shift we got starting in the late 70s, early 80s, where the monster wasn't always the bad guy. That being said, there's plenty of examples from around that time where the monster is very much the bad guy alien. So,
Predator.
And Predator, which... Boy, there's a film that shouldn't work, but really just does. That's a whole big mound of dumb, and still... It's fun because the characters are so overblown and over the top. And
get to the chopper!
and they're all posing and oiling themselves up, and it is so ridiculous, but it still works. So, So this film is not that old. This film's like, what do we figure, 14 years old? Would you recommend this?
I would. I think it's still a good watch. I think it's also fun to see J.J. Abrams before he went full J.J. Abrams. Because, this is one of his first movies. And I think it's nice. You see Spielberg's fingerprints on it, but it's clearly, it starts off immediately with a mother dying, so it's not exactly all that warm and fuzzy to begin with.
Yeah. It's very Disney in that respect.
Yeah, I think, I do.
Is that a parent? Quick, push them off the parapet.
Well, you can keep one, all right? You can have one parent.
For now.
For now. But you're going to lose them. Yeah, I would recommend it. I think it's still fun. What about you?
This ticks a lot of my own childhood boxes. I did make a couple of attempts at films when I was a kid. A little bit of stop motion did not work well. A little bit of science fiction. I wouldn't complete my first actual film. Well, I shot it in the 90s. I think it was about 93, 94. I didn't finish editing it until about 2020, 21, because it was shot on VHS, and Hey, I actually took a course at my local community access channel so I could use their video dubbing and editing booth, and I still couldn't get what I wanted because the technology didn't exist at my level. But the whole love of science fiction and monster movies and that kind of thing was exactly who I was when I was a kid. I didn't have a group of friends like this, but that's okay. I really liked it when it came out. What surprises me is it's not a film I've come back to many times. And I don't know why. This is probably the third time I've seen it. But I really like it. I like the kids a lot. I don't like kids in films. I don't generally like kids. But I think that they're not obnoxious. They feel real. They're well acted. There's just enough dramatic scenes that the kids get a moment where they can really push themselves and they're not just running from flying debris.
Yeah.
The only thing I think I don't care for is the monster. I want to see something that I can parse, and I have no idea what shape it is. I just don't. And if we're going to really sympathize with it, I think we need a little bit more. Other than that, it's fun. Yeah. I recommend it.
And I like the relationship between the kids is fun. I like when Charles finally confronts Joe about, that he likes Alice, that he's jealous.
Well, and that's why he brought her on board.
And he's really annoyed, but he's also, he's mature enough to go, and the worst part is she likes you too.
Yeah.
She doesn't like me, she likes you.
Yeah.
And you can and unspoken is, and I'm going to have to live with that.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's a very remarkably adult way that Charles deals with it, and yet it's still completely believable because he's still pissed. But he's like, and I know it's stupid to be pissed.
And I totally believe Charles ends up in Hollywood making movies. I totally believe.
Oh yeah, he's going to be like William Castle or somebody.
And somehow Carrie came with him and works in special effects. Or stunts.
He's one of the pyrotechnics guys. He's there blowing stuff up because it's got to be where they come from.
Yeah. So it's a film that I don't think a lot of people talk about. And even though it did very well at the box office, I don't think it wasn't a film where you got a lot of toy tie-ins or anything like that.
No.
I think it's a film that tends to be forgotten, or people are like, oh yeah, I was meant to see that. But yeah, if this sounds appealing to you at all, give it a try. It's actually pretty fun. And it's not a bad way to start a giant monster movie series. But what else isn't bad is our poll question, which we're going to keep doing for a little while anyway. We'd like to know what movie really represents your childhood. Who basically somehow looked into your little 12-year-old psyche and said, I know that person, this film's about you. And the way you can tell us what that film is to email us directly at us@maxmikemovies.com. That suggests we have a website. Hey, newsflash, we do. It's maxmikemovies.com, where all of our episodes are individually glazed and sprinkled about with raisins and jelly beans and sprinkles and all sorts of fun stuff where you can listen to them separately.
Am I supposed to be putting sprinkles on them?
No, but we always do this show right before lunch and I'm hungry.
Oh, okay.
So you can listen to all our episodes separately. You can comment there, give us suggestions for movies we should add to series. Hey, we've done that before. We might be in the middle of a series, but if you guys are like, hey, you should do this movie, and we're like, oh, I don't know that one, we might add it to the series. Give us an idea for a series. Let us know you like the show. Let us know you don't like the show. We love listener mail. You can also go to Facebook, because we're still there, pitching, hoping, and that's at Max Mike Movies. We're also on Blue Sky and Mastodon, both places at Max Mike Movies. Lastly, if there is a podcast app, then we are probably there and listed, Max Mike Movies? I think so.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to us directly, though, that's the real kicker, and that's where you can call us at you don't have to dial 1 anymore, I guess, but 617-398-7266 is our hotline number. That is 617-398-7266, the only phone number I have memorized right now. But what I also don't have memorized is what we're going to watch next week as the second film in our little Oh No, a Giant Monster series. Max, what film are we watching next week?
An old black and white one about terrifying giant creatures menacing people, and it's called Those. No,
what?
Crap. Wait, it's called These. No,
These what?
Us?
No. Well, it's got to be us versus them.
Them.
You're gonna make us watch the giant ant movie.
Shh! You're giving away the plot. Yes,
There's
we're
a
going
plot?
to watch giant ants. Ooh,
them
scary.
giant ants.
them giant ants. Now hear the word of the Lord.
Well, so next week, join we as we watch them.
For you. This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.